oh maybe, like my easy smile. Maybe, oh maybe, we'll stop for a little while. Maybe, oh maybe, we'll watch the sun go down. And maybe, oh maybe, we'll decide to stick around. And maybe we won't, and decide to take a walk. And you and I will ponder as we wander, as we walk.
Welcome to Ponder While We Wander. We're two friends who happen to be therapists go on a walk as we discuss relationships, nature, and meet life in the moment. Each episode is grounded in some aspect of eco-psychology, but can take us anywhere as we ponder while we wander. And you're invited to come along.
And you and I will ponder as we wander, as we walk.
Hello, Amber.
Hi, Natasha.
Hi.
Well, today we are going to be pondering biophilia.
We are.
And we're going to be exploring our love of nature and how modernity has pushed us further away from our natural connection.
Mm-hmm.
And today we are at Fort Townsend State Park.
Fort Townsend.
Mm-hmm. Near
Deer
Port
poop.
Townsend, Washington.
Yes.
Did you say deer poop?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
deer poop. Just gotta walk through this field here and pay attention to where you step.
Yes, watch where you step. Lots of little, these look like tiny little
presents.
dandelions.
Look, a little present right there.
Oh yeah, presents everywhere.
Yep, dandelions I see, and some little
Clover.
and daisies and grasses. Oh, yeah, lots of poop. Lots of deer.
Lots of deer.
It's good. It's good. We are heading over to what looks like a trailhead. And I say this as if we haven't done this before, but we have. We have. And last time we were out here, we got lost.
Yeah, that happens frequently, even to places we've been.
Yeah, we weren't lost forever, though.
We usually have a general idea, direction that we're headed. It's just, it's like, when you're like, find my person on the map. You're like somewhere within this ring, but you have to get really close to the sea.
And look what I picked up this time.
A map.
A map. But
Yeah.
as we were saying the other day, it's like, what good is a map if you don't know where you are?
True.
Hopefully.
Yeah. We're somewhere. The trailhead's somewhere over here. It's either to the left or to the right. It's one of those two places.
We do go prepared. I do have snacks just in
Yeah.
case.
That's good.
We have cell phones.
Although my phone's dead currently, so we have a cell phone. But that's all we need.
Mine has good battery right now. And I think I have a first aid kit. We come prepared. We've got good shoes.
Yeah.
We just had a meal. So
We can sustain ourselves for quite some time out here, should we lose the trail.
It's not that big of an area. Somebody will find us.
Yeah,
we
for
will
sure.
find somebody.
For sure. Just keep walking.
Just keep walking.
I think we should go this way.
All right.
So let's do that.
Because that's the parking lot over there. So
biophilia. Biophilia.
yes.
Tell me what you love about biophilia.
Well, I love
the
that
term.
somebody named it. Right? There's this name of bio and philia, and it's basically love of life, but I think interpreted into love of nature. And it was first brought up as a term by a psychologist who, we'll go ahead and put all these links in the, later you could do your deep dive with it. But then, brought back a little bit later about just that observation that humans and nature have evolved together. And that we as humans, didn't always live this separated from our environments. But at some point, we've become pretty separated in some ways. And here we are. Now we have a name for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think this is we just did a little loop. There it is. That's good. So I don't think that we need a lot of scientific talk about this. But if you are the type of person who kind of needs to have evidence and like studies that has to prove this stuff, we'll put some of those things in the show notes as well. One of the most fascinating kind of looks at the effects that nature has on us and maybe shows our affinity toward other than human nature is studies that were done on patients in hospitals in recovery, and that patients who had a room with a view to the outside, looking at the trees outside, they recovered faster than patients who did not have that view. And, that gets us thinking about what is surrounding us and what we have access to and the healing properties of nature.
I know, I think that's fascinating, very interesting. And yeah, like you said, we'll put some more of that info in the show notes, but just like, I don't know about you, but I'm just like so appreciating even being outside where we are right now, like in the forest. There's, the sea is to our left and the trees, all their glorious moss and leaves and foliage. And like there's something that just kind of starts to shift for me when we step out here, and I feel the pull to being in the environment. And I can't always put my finger on exactly what that quality is, but yeah, I think it's related in terms of this term biophilia, this like natural affinity, this love for nature. Oh, that was
a sign for a cougar sighting on the Madrona Trail, June 11th.
That's not that long ago.
No.
If we go that way, I think it dead ends, but...
Okay, let's go this way then. Up to where the cougar sighting is. Yeah, so, just even slowing down. And I guess we are also asking maybe people listening today to kind of tap in to another way of knowing. We do have evidence out there. There is evidence. So, let your left brain logical side rest in assurance that that is out there should you need to look for that some more. But right now we're going to just talk a little bit more about kind of our internal tuning in and knowing, maybe even tuning into our senses and what goes on when we step out into an area like this. What we do know is that there is communication that is happening with us and the world around us. We are walking through an area with fern and trees and animals that we may or may not be able to see, but they are out there. And a whole system of like mushrooms and fungi that are underground that are communicating. And just like that root that I tripped over. There's stuff going on below and above. And there's communication that is going on with even chemicals that we don't see between us and the chemicals in our own body And trees, for example, we have been able to study some of those things. Yeah.
Get this beautiful one.
He's very
Beautiful, tall tree. Like a cluster of what,
trees.
7?
Yeah. Stepping over these roots. Yes. And, okay, I said we weren't going to talk about studies, but I'm going to talk a little bit
They're just so interesting.
Yeah. About Professor Quigley from Japan, who has a book out there about forest bathing and the effects of being in a forest. And that even just being in a forest or a wooded area for 2 days can raise our immune system. And it's not even that we have to do anything or exercise in there. We just have to be there, be present, and breathe. Which is pretty amazing that 2 days in a wooded area, it raises our natural killer cells of, antibodies by 50%. These are specialized white blood cells that come in and help our bodies fight off the different things that want to eat us and kill us from the inside.
I know. I just find that particular study so fascinating. Yeah, it's just being in the presence of, being in relationship really, but being in the presence of, you don't have to be trying to manage stepping over roots or hiking or climbing or doing anything strenuous. It's just being present with.
Yeah, there are chemicals that have been identified as terpenes that are released by trees in these wooded areas that have been shown to be correlated with this boost. And not only that, but 3 days in a wooded area has an effect that actually lasts for 30 days, boosts our immune system for 30 days, even when we leave the area and don't visit it during that time.
That's a pretty big payoff. 30 days is a long time.
Yeah. It sure
To be
is.
feeling the effects of something.
Yeah. So not only immunity, but then reduction in stress. Yeah.
Yeah, which, we're talking about all of the amazing benefits and systems at play and communication that's happening all the time. And it's got me thinking about how, most of us aren't living like that right now. Like, we're not living 3 days a week or 3 days a month outside in the woods. We're living under a lot different conditions inside. A lot of, fake light, perhaps, depending on what your situation is. But
yeah,
we're not living in such close proximity as we used to.
Yeah, and even that view here, we got to a little spot where we can see out past this trail, and just our perspective that shifts. Or outside, you can see farther. Yeah. Can see the bugs flying around in the air. Yeah. And this thing that happens with our attention, there's 2 kinds of attention. And I think when we're in our sense of modernity in our everyday, we do pay attention to things. And it's this kind of directed attention. But something different happens when we are in more natural environments. And that kind of attention, we can call that fascination. And that has it has kind of a context of curiosity and awe that we've talked about. right? Of not really knowing what's going to happen. What are we
Will
gonna
there be a
see?
cougar around this trail bend? I don't know.
Will there be a cougar sighting on this walk? Yeah. Will there be... I love the other day when we were on our walk and there was a kid, I don't know, maybe he was like 8 or 9 years old, and he was looking for newts. We ran into him on the trail. He's like, have you seen any newts? I'm like, I haven't, but I haven't really been looking for newts.
I know.
So what am I missing?
Yeah, and how quickly we then were like, ooh, fascinating.
Right.
Let's look for newts.
Right. So then we start looking in places. We did not find a newt, but we did find a banana slug.
We did find a banana slug. But it got us even being really curious about the newt. We're like, okay, well, where do we think he might be? And
Where would you find him?
where would you find him? And
Yeah.
stories of newts. Yeah,
Stories of newts.
paying attention in a different kind of way.
It's our next small album we'll be coming out with. Stories of newts and songs along the way. Write that down, somebody. So all these kind of affinities that we have for nature, and I'm wondering for those of us who might be listening to this afterward, you know, what happens? I know we had an episode about paying attention outside. How does that make you feel? So we've done that piece, and kind of bringing some of that back in terms of our affinities and what you're drawn to, and maybe how that even gets brought into your everyday life. You had some great examples of how we do that sometimes, not even knowing that we're doing it.
I think I was just sort of noticing some of the nuance of that, of like, you know, sometimes it can feel hard to get outside in bigger ways, or you don't have a trail close by to where you live, but kind of being curious about if people were to stop for a moment, if you're at your house or you're just imagining your home, and get really curious to notice how many elements inside our house are natural, nature related. You know, I'm thinking like, you know, shout out to all the plant moms out there. Like this, and then, you know, the people that I know that are really interested in collecting plants, it's like there's this pull to the plants. Like the plant calls you in and you're like, oh, plant, you must come live with me in my home. Like there is a strong love and affinity there.
For things that are alive to live with us.
Yeah, that are alive and live with us. And, you know, the great care that people take. You know, I have a friend, Lorena, and she is like the most amazing plant, like carer of plants. And she knows all of her plants, like what they need, even just by touch, to see like, oh, this plant needs this or this plant needs that. And I mean, she's my go-to if I'm like, what do I do with this plant? Because I'm still learning how to keep plants alive inside my house. But that's a different story. But when I hear Lorena talk about her plants, it's like there's a relationship there. Like they all have a place, they all have a spot, and it makes me think about that, like affinity towards the natural environment being in our home. And that's, you know, just one example of that. But I think it would be really interesting for people to take a look around and see like, oh, how much of nature do I have in my home that I don't even know why. I think that one of the other examples I was talking to you about is like, you know, sometimes people have a strong affinity for things with lemons on them, or strawberries are really popular. Like there's like
patterns.
Patterns and something that kind of just calls us in, or we're really drawn towards. And I like to think of that in sort of this imaginal, creative, intuitive way of like, it's not just that you like that pattern, like could it be that there's a connection there and a pull towards something?
Yes. We talked a little bit about this in the Labyrinth episode, but about the sacred geometry, or the geometry of things found in nature.
Oh, yeah.
That we are, as humans, drawn to certain patterns, like a fractal, or, think of a tree branching out, or these ferns as they unfurl. There is a pattern to nature, and our eye is drawn to that. Our maybe even our soul is drawn to that, and that those are elements of nature that we can purposefully invite into our spaces. I know when I was talking to the person who is now helping us edit our podcast, Morisawa, thank you so much. He and I were talking about, what is this about? Like, what are you guys talking about? And the one thing that kind of struck him when I was talking about all kinds of things was how we maybe naturally gravitate. In his office, he had wood floors and he had stones that were, tiles, and very beautiful office. But those were all elements of nature that he was, naturally drawn to, and just kind of felt that. And he didn't have to have, a degree in design or interior specialization. We know what we know.
Yeah.
And that knowing is worth it.
I love that. We know what we know.
But it does help. It really does help when we have access to nature. I love being up in this area visiting you, and we've spent most of our first season up here just because it's been easier to access all these nature points.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for that as well. I mean, we're not even going to be able to get to all of them. So many places to access it.
Yeah, and so many of these places had caregivers long before we were here, of the tribes in the area that we've gotten to know a little bit about, and how land was tended to, and a lot of the berries that are up here that are so plentiful. That's not by accident. That's with some care and design, and now they're profuse, and now you're chopping them down by the bushelful.
There's got to be a balance,
There's got to be a balance. There's got to be a balance, but there's got to be care, right?
Right, there's got to be care.
Yeah, and even these places that we walk on that are access points to nature, they are cared for. These trails that we're walking on, and these spaces that we're in, these are public lands that anybody can go to for the small price of $10 if you want to park your car, or $30 for the year, which is another episode somewhere. But in essence, they're still available to us. And I think access to these natural places isn't a given everywhere. And so if you have found that it's been difficult for you to just enjoy natural settings, there may be a reason why.
Definitely.
If it's not as easy for you to get to. But sometimes sometimes it can be as easy as walking out your front door, or noticing the dandelions that are popping up in the sidewalk cracks. And sometimes it takes a little bit more effort to find a park that is more natural, not just like a concrete jungle gym.
Yeah. I think that is, one of the things I want to re-say or highlight a little more is this part of, for many people it might be challenging or not as accessible for, like you were saying, lots of reasons to access some of these more deeply forested areas. But that it is accessible to all of us, and we can find our way in. I like to think of, easy access points, or, a lot of times you and I talk about these like low threshold barriers of like, what's the way in? And truly, we can start in those places of just stepping outside, right? Stepping outside, look up, see the sky, notice that butterfly, hear that bird. Let yourself linger there in those experiences a bit longer.
Yeah. Even things like paying attention to your food and trying to find foods that are more local to your region and in more stuff.
More roots.
In the season that you're in, local farmers markets have been popping up and I think are still pretty accessible in most areas. And so supporting local farmers and eating foods that are closer to nature, closer to the way that we find them in nature.
I'm also thinking about this part you and I have been talking about around, even when a lot of times if we're going to work with somebody or do any kind of like guided imagery or a grounding type exercise, a lot of times those environments that we go to and imagine in our mind where we have sometimes easier access to those relaxing, soothing, calming, neutral sensations. A lot of times people find a nature scene. Or, I use a lot the metaphor of the tree for grounding and rooting. So I think there's ways, even when we're consciously thinking about stress reduction or symptom reduction, right, that nature pulls us in.
That maybe we're already, as humans, kind of have already that affinity, that draw to those parts. Are we turning around?
I think so, yeah.
That's really smart of us to do that. Yeah, that's good.
Look at us.
Look at us. You can go in one direction for a while, and then you can turn around, and you get a whole different view. Well, look at that. This is where we came from.
Now we get to see the other side of the trees.
I get to trip on that same thing again.
That's right. It'll still be there waiting for you.
Yes. Yeah. I really like to pay attention to those metaphors that we use. I like to use the metaphor of a garden a lot, about how, there are certain things that you can plant, but, sometimes you scatter the seeds and they don't take hold, but it's not the seed's fault. It could be that it's planted in the wrong place. There's not enough sun or not enough water or too much water. Or the soil that it's planted in is not amenable to those seeds. And we learn more about ourselves, and we learn more about, what are our optimal conditions for growing and sprouting. Like those are kind of really important lessons that we can learn about ourselves. But also, if you are a healer or you're a teacher, that everybody grows in different ways. And the container that you may be trying to, help people grow in is not the container for them. Yeah, so many of our little-bodied humans and little, younger humans, their primary language of learning is play and song and fascination and wonder for the world around them, trying to figure it out. I mean, if you have been around kids lately and they're outside, there is a really good chance that when you look at them, there's a stick in their hand, or there's a rock, or there's something that they've picked up on, right? That is just drawing them in. And yeah, what kind of lessons they learning about physics and color, design, and language to describe an experience that is really hard sometimes to put into language.
Yeah, and ingenuity and
wonder.
creativity. I mean, and for me, if I take my kids to the beach, like, I'm always shocked at what they can create with what's right there. Like, there's, access into all of these beautiful parts of their existence.
Yeah.
Sensory and smell and touch and temperature and all of those.
Yeah. And if you stay and you allow for natural questions to come up, a lot of the topics that are covered in the classroom just naturally come up. Like, what was this area like before? And who are the people that lived here before? And what happened to that building over there? And what is that across the harbor? Lots of little questions that we may or may not have answers to.
Right.
But we have access points.
Slug.
Oh, hello, another banana slug.
See, I didn't notice him on our way through.
I don't think he was there. He must have been very,
quick.
very fast.
I feel like slugs, they're like red light, green light. When you turn your back, they're actually going really fast. And then when you turn towards them, they're going very slow. That's my theory of slugs. Because you turn around and they've crossed a whole trail. And you're like, how did you
Right?
get there
How'd
so
you get
fast,
there?
little buddy?
I love banana slugs. We've got some really beefy ones up here. All right. So, yeah, biophilia. Lots of evidence out there that we have evolved with our natural environments. Lots of ways that I'm sure that you can start to see where maybe that disconnect from the world around you is, whether it be the four walls that you live in or the artificial lighting that you have, or how much time you're on screens versus with in real life beings and places. Even the foods we eat.
Right.
How close to nature are we at these moments? And yeah, all great questions to ponder.
And that a lot of these are not only our individual choices, right? They're part of how our society has moved,
Right.
how things have changed.
Right.
And so, what can we do with that knowing, and how might we follow our own affinities, our own natural affinities? How might we notice and recognize the value of those and allow them to sort of pull us back?
Oh, that's some kind of interesting poop right there. I'm not sure, but that guy needs to eat a little bit more fiber.
There might be a rye with that one. Hope you're okay.
I'm glad you didn't step on that on the way that way.
Me too.
Gratitude. We can have a lot of gratitude.
We didn't. I mean, we're not out yet, but we haven't stepped in any excrement. We haven't fallen on our faces from any tree roots.
Not
So
yet,
we're doing
not
okay.
yet.
We're not wandering lost a little.
Right. So if you have any ponder points, this might be a good time to ring them up.
I do. I have two. First one is, what pulls you outside? What do you notice that pulls you out? And when you follow what catches your attention, what else do you begin to notice? What about for you, Natasha?
I love that ponder point. I like to think about that one. Mine is today about it's kind of a relationship check-in, and maybe having a list. Could be just a mental list of all the other than human nature places, and I'm using that phrase because I think humans are part of nature, right? But all those places that you can name as important to you, whether you have visited them and see them regularly or you haven't. I think a lot of people say things like, would say like the Grand Canyon is something that might be important to them, or Yosemite or Big Sur. So places that might be important, but it could also be like my grandparents parents used to live in this neighborhood and there was a park. So paying attention to what those places might be and what your relationship is with them now. Maybe you've noticed that there are places that you've always wanted to kind of have a relationship with, and you just haven't quite got there. Just gonna pay attention to that. Or if it's a place that you used to visit a long time ago, and you haven't in a very long time. Maybe it's time to visit it again, or just recognize that you may not have visited in a while. And I know this is a really long ponder point, so bear with me. There's one more thing, is that sometimes those places that we have had an affinity with are not there anymore.
Yeah.
Like my grandparents' farm is now, I think it's part of a neighborhood now, and so I can't actually visit that. And so if that is true for me, like I do have to feel that sadness, that grief and loss for places, and that's okay. You can still have that for a place.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed. Thank you.
yeah, that being said, thank you for being with us on this journey. We have our next episode that's coming up is one where we visit Fort Worden Historical State Park in Washington. And it's called It's Not Safe to Rest, where we notice our individual and cultural resistance to rest and why it's important. Until then, wander well.